Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank the organization for inviting us to present a very interesting project about practical information and also about the application of hydrogen in the ports, especially in the port of Hamburg. My name is Janne Oeverdiek and I will present you the cluster Clean Port and Logistics. Our aim is to test and validate the prototypes and equipment the equipment manufacturer gives us to test. So, who are we? I'm in the Department of Hydrogen at the HHLA, the Hamburger Hafen und Logistik AG, or a terminal operator in the port of Hamburg. And we operate 3 terminals in the port of Hamburg, also one in Italy, one in Estonia, and one in the Ukraine, such as this one here. And we have set ourselves the goal to act climate neutral until 2040. And let's have a look. What can we decarbonize here? In this picture, it's a very classical terminal layout. On the left side, we have this big gantry cranes on the rail. Well, we can put a cable on them. Yeah, they are kind of stationary and they're electrified, no problem there. Also, we have these storage facilities here, the cranes also on rails. There, we can put a cable on. However, there are some other equipment classes that are driving around and are very mobile. So we have here some straddle carriers, very specific for a port operation. Very little in this picture, but in real they are kind of big and yeah, they are for heavy good operations. So lifting and lowering containers about 40 tons. We have these ones. We have the terminal tractor. It was mentioned before. On this terminal, we have some empty container handlers in this area here, where they were driving around. And well, when we want to decarbonize them, we can't go to a manufacturer and let us give the catalog, because they do not have any equipment for that. They are all on diesel engines. So, and also the electrified ones. The manufacturer said to us, yeah, of course, we can develop an electrified straddle carrier, for example. You have to calculate with 2 hours of operation and 1 hour loading. So we said, well, that's not that what we want to do. But let's keep that in mind and proceed with a short presentation of the HHLA. We have, beside this division of container transport, also a division of intermodal and rail transport. And as you see, beside these container terminals, we have also some inland terminals with our subsidiary Metrans, who is operating the container transport into the European hinterland, mainly East and Central Europe. So also there are terminals which we want to decarbonize, and they have also some emissions which we have to do. So these 2 divisions, on the one hand, the container and the intermodal, to complete this row, we also have a division on logistics in general, some consulting activities, and a division on real estate, but for hydrogen, I would say we focus on intermodal and the container. And it's not that we haven't done yet something. We have implemented many measures to get our CO2s down and yeah, to decarbonize. We have switched our AGV fleet from diesel engines to battery engines, and we have implemented hybrid diesel engines in the straddle carriers. That are the straddle carriers. Well, you can see they're quite big. And also we have electrified our fleet of cars because you can't go by feet through a terminal. You always have to use a car. But I can complete this row with many other examples. However, this all leads us to this graphic, and while this looks fantastic, however, we have this little topic that there's just 50%. It's not 0%, and when we want to come to target 0 in 2040, we have to do something. So all the easy wins are done. We have implemented them. This is 2020. Maybe we are in 2023 now here, somewhere here, but it's not that. When we come to 0, we have to be somewhere here. And this is why we are thinking about hydrogen. And let me state that we always want to do clever things. So where it's possible and where it's economically feasible, we electrify our fleet. But we see we have a 7 days a week operation. We have a very heavy duty operation. The batteries come to a limit. And yes, this is why we look at hydrogen, and we have a strategy there consisting 3 phases. On the first phase we are in now is our learning and testing. We have to show our employees how it runs when we couple a hydrogen refueling station with a device, and we have to train our employees. All this we would like to do in this phase 0, and also we want to make a robust decision foundation, so we decide based on this phase whether hydrogen could be an option or not. In case it is an option, we have already prepared phase 1 in a very large project called H2Load. It's an European funding project, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the proceeding on European funding, but it's a long-term thing. And this is focusing on the switch of all equipment devices in the port of Hamburg, which are traveling around on the container terminals and also general cargo terminals. We have an impact of round about 150 vehicles. So this is phase 1, and phase 2 then the rollout on our terminals I've shown before. When it comes to the cluster, the title of this presentation is the cluster, Clean Port and Logistics, we are always moving in this phase 0, this learning, testing, and getting practical, validated information about the terminal equipment. And this is the idea of the cluster. In the middle we have this test environment, quite similar to the Port of Valencia. We have there on our container terminal Tollerort in Hamburg, we have published that our refueling station will be operational in the second half of 2023. And also the first vehicles, also of high scale, will come in the second half of 2023. This would be one terminal tractor and an empty container handler. I guess on the timeline I will focus in a moment. So we have this test environment consisting of this refueling station on the one hand and the equipment on the other hand. And around that we thought, well, there are also other companies like us, logistic companies, who have the question to decarbonize their operational business. Why shouldn't we gather our forces and let them participate on our findings we have in this practical tests? And so we asked them, would it be possible to collaborate there? And the feedback was quite positive. So we have this port and logistic companies and this heavy cargo logistic companies participating in the cluster. And on the other hand, we have this infrastructure and production branch in the cluster who have the products we need to decarbonize. And in the logistics sector, it's always about talking to each other and say, well, this runs, you can trust me, I've done this already. And this thing we would like also to implement in the cluster. Another sector is the equipment manufacturing. Here we implemented in the cluster that are the Hyster-Yales, the Kone cranes, and so on. And because we want to base our findings quite scientifically, we are always working with universities in such projects. So this is the main idea of the cluster. We have this test facility in the middle and the cluster with many companies around that. We have there 3 aims. I've already mentioned it, the robust foundation for decision making. It is more focused for the terminal operating and logistic companies who have this topic to decarbonize until whenever, some more 2030 or 2040. We have the topic to accelerate the maturity of the technology, because we could have a strategy, but when the equipment is not ready, we can't do it. So we said, well, dear manufacturers, we have our drivers of the vehicles, and they give you direct feedback, so you don't have to run your equipment a long time on laboratory things. You can give it to us on the terminal, and with salt water, windy conditions, we give you the feedback of a terminal. And last goal of this cluster is to provide a lively market space where the producers of products and the demand find them. That are the members. At the moment of the cluster, I think this graphic is not that complete at the moment, but however, you see there are some companies joining in, and we have this equipment manufacturers like CMB, Hyster-Yale, and Kone cranes. Also, and that is a very big part, the logistic companies like Renus, our terminals on the left side, and the Port of LA, and terminal operator of South America, Neltun ports. So this is a quite broad focus we had. And let me say that it's always open for others to join. So if you're interested, contact us. Here's the timeline, perfect. We have kicked off the cluster in October last year, and we would like to kick off the working groups we are working in, such as energy supply, the layout of the sites, and the preparation of the testing. These working groups we would like to start in February this year, and then we start this practical validation until the first vehicles arrive in 2023 that are, as said, the terminal tractor and the empty container handler of Hyster-Yale, but also we are also here in contact with other manufacturers such as CMB for a truck, and so a straddle carrier of Kone we may get in 2024. And finally, some pictures. This is the layout of our refueling station, and you can get a feeling of the footprint. That was a question before. I think this around about 10 meters, so yeah, this is not that big footprint. However, we choose the trailer swap as a supply concept of the hydrogen refueling station. as said, we have kicked off the cluster, but we want now to start the working groups, get operational in the first half of 2023. This is the equipment in pictures, and you see they are quite big, and it's heavy-duty logistics where batteries come to the limits. This is a photo of the station when it's final, but and I guess that's it with the cluster. At least I would like to draw your attention also on the topic of import and distribution. We are a European logistic company, and we have the last minutes always moved in this conversion of our in-house vehicles. We are also very active in the area of importing and distribution of hydrogen, because it's common sense that we need in Germany to import energy. And as Hamburg port, we want to positionate in this area, and there are some other projects, and it's clustered by the different phases. We've done some demonstrator projects. You may have heard about the ammonia transport to Hamburg, and we are in research projects in this conceptual phase and looking to an import terminal there. But this is our second activity, and that's it for